And then, Sev and I realized we might be able to repurpose the carapace for more than just loon gates.
Uh-huh.
Purely theoretical right now, but I'm contemplating tangle-resistant gear, or even a protective layer around the caravan.
Dom, I'm a little busy trying to look over these Tarmakine schematics again. Do you mind coming back later?
Oh, okay. You're right. We can discuss theoretical magic anytime. I'll leave you to your work.
Oh. Hey, Bryn.
Everything all right? Things between you and Dom seem off lately.
Yeah, a bit. I'm not sure he understands what my work on the Tarmakine smithing techniques means to me.
Have you told him how you're feeling?
It feels like he's so wrapped up in his own discoveries that he's not hearing me.
He is easily distracted, but maybe you should try again. If there's one thing I know about Dom, it's that he loves you. He must care about your feelings.
Then why isn't he asking about them? Sorry, this isn't on you. I'm just frustrated. I need to do more than just tell him what Tarmakine means to me.
How so?
I need to show him. By investigating Tarmakine practices, maybe I can make some headway on restoring these techniques. Then he'll understand.
Hey, I'm always down to investigate lost knowledge, especially in the name of love.
You'll help me?
Of course.
Amazing. I'll ask the Axel if she knows anything about Tarmakine smithing in the Enclave.
Great idea. I'll meet you at Cassidon's Hold. How are you settling in, Eric? Things going well?
Good. Yeah, they're fine.
Just good?
No, not really. Something's going on at the hold, and it's making the hairs on the back of my neck stand up. The Eye publicly scorched you for opening up Asylum, and yet I've heard him telling the Spindle that this could be a good thing. Meanwhile, the runners are stretched paper thin keeping supplies moving. Which, of course, leaves my people no time to deal with actual threats.
Ahem. Problem solver extraordinaire right here. So, point me at the problem and let's see if we can't make it go away.
Really? Dancing winds, where to start? No, wait, I know. The Spitfires. A particularly aggressive group seems set on spreading through Dynevron. In particular, they're building nests in some areas I was hoping to use as training grounds, but we had to pull out due to the risk.
Would the areas be safe if I took care of the nests?
Yes, though the nests are very durable. They will turn brittle if you get them cold enough.
Consider it done. Anything else?
Maybe an odd request. Could you ask Oria if I could power the scry while you're tackling them?
Why not ask her yourself?
I feel like I have a lot to learn from Oria and how she works with you. And it's strangely intimidating to admit that to her directly.
She is a force of nature. I get it. I'll ask.
Bryn, I'm glad you're here. I need to talk to you.
What's going on? You look pretty tired.
Yeah, I'm fine. It's just... about those Menti Drake scales. I know Oria said we don't need them, but she just doesn't understand. It's dangerous out here, you know? Especially now that these Surgeborn are loose. We need to be prepared for anything. It's just gnawing in the back of my head. Do you think you could do it?
You haven't told me why we need them, or better yet, why we need 90.
We want the best gear and weapons, don't we?
So Solar asked for these?
Not exactly. They have other uses too.
Seriously, when's the last time you slept?
Kashar don't need as much sleep as Ashar or Cassel.
But you need some sleep.
It's been a while. Maybe 10 days. Or a week. I'm fine.
I'm guessing Aurea doesn't know you want me to go drake hunting. Do you really think it's a good idea for us to go behind her back?
It looks bad, but she just doesn't see what I'm seeing.
To be honest, I'm not sure I see it either.
Please, just trust me.
Kaz, you need to tell me what's really going on here. I want to help, but the drake scales? The Weaver Band is okay. More than okay. We're in the best shape we've been in since we entered the Enclave, now that we've made contact with the Heartsiders. Besides, the caravan is looking pretty full. It's not making sense.
You think I'm insane?
No, of course not.
Era's breath. I shouldn't have brought this up. Ugh. But you just don't understand. Everyone could die if I don't... It would be my fault.
Whatever this is, please just tell me what's going on.
No. I shouldn't have burdened you. Sorry, just go.
But Kaz...
I can't talk about this anymore.
Kasmin is not okay. And I don't think bringing her more stuff is the answer. I'd better talk to Aurea. Hey, Aurea. About Kasmin.
I know. I'm worried too. So is the rest of the band. Let's talk at the archive, privately. I'll join you and Lane in a moment.
All right. Hi, Aurea. I am here on behalf of Arakim.
That's weirdly formal. Everything all right?
He finds you intimidating. Personally, I don't see it, but I thought I'd be extra polite for his sake.
He does. Good. What does he want?
He's wondering if he could power the scry while I run an errand for him. He's hoping you'll give him tips.
Happily. But feel free to tell him I was a bit scary, to keep him on his toes.
Good news. It was tough going, but I managed to convince Madame Silverbeak to take you under her wing.
Madame Silverbeak. Wins. I'll wear my good socks. I've coordinated lots of operations from Cassidon's Hold, but I never had much formal training. More self-taught. A chance to learn from someone with decades of experience is an incredible opportunity. I'll be there with you then, when you get close to the nests. They're in the Bastion's yard and Envoy's Landing in Upper Dynevron.
It's safe to say Kasmin hasn't been acting like herself. She's always been tightly wound, but this is something else.
Bryn, she seems more open with you than most. Can you describe in detail what's abnormal about her behavior?
She's begging me for more supplies, even though the caravan is chock full.
Not that we could tell because she's covered it up.
More than that, she just seems distressed. She's always talking about worst-case scenarios, and lately it's like she's convinced we're all going to die.
I have heard rumors of abnormal behavior developing in Kashar that could be linked to this.
What kind of rumors?
In polytheistic beliefs that are pervasive in the southern part of the Maida, there is an affliction known as Ira's Plague. The sufferer is haunted by twisted visions of death and pain. The goddess of justice, Ira, won't allow the sufferer inner peace until they repent through scrupulosity.
Scrupulosity? What is that exactly?
Oh, my apologies. I forget most people don't follow UD in eschatological study. Scrupulosity can be best described as a series of repetitive acts that one is compelled to do. For example, if Casmin is plagued by relentless images of our band dying from exposure,
She might send our point out over and over again to retrieve supplies.
yes, in order to dispel the horrific visions.
Are you seriously suggesting Casmin is... what? Possessed?
Of course not. I'm confident that this is merely a stigmatized phenomenon that could not be explained through facts or science. So the populace explained it through religious folly instead.
Any ideas what facts could explain it?
Not yet.
I didn't realize Casmin was spiritual. Is she really trying to hide these visions from us?
Though not devout herself, Casmin grew up with a strict Ashar mother.
You're right, she did.
It's possible Casmin's affliction was a point of shame or contention between them. Perhaps she fears rejection if she shares her experience with us.
Kashar. What does Era's plague have to do with them?
While most see Kashar as a celebrated merging of the two cultures, some fringe sects disagree. They believe the wider lineage simply leads to more ancestral sin that must be atoned, and thus only Kashar can be afflicted.
Really? Where do you land?
The concept of impure lineage is clearly hogwash, but I suspect the affliction could somehow correlate to the Kashar's unique physiology.
All right. Casmin is suffering. We need to do something about it.
And preemptively? No exorcisms?
As I said, this is likely nothing more than a condition that has been stigmatized by religion. A scientific explanation must exist, and thankfully, we are in the heart of progressive thinking.
You think the Enclave could have done research on this?
Makes sense. Where should I start looking?
The steps in the upper city is where I'd start. Between the main building of the spire and the atrium used to stand a school for alchemists. From your explorations, the surge hit that area pretty hard, but some of the building may still be standing.
Great. What am I looking for?
Maybe the name of someone who suffered like Casmin, or a healer who treated the condition. If you find someone like that, you'll want to search the areas of the city where they spent time. Era's plague is wildly misunderstood across the Maida. If we could find a treatment, it could help more than Casmin.
You're right. I'll start with the steps, then expand my search. Where's the
It's been weeks. Is that...
Hey. You all right?
Yes. There's something I should have told you, so I'll just come out and say it. I was born in the Enclave.
How is that possible?
Oh, luck or tragedy, depending on your perspective. Before I was born, my mother and father lived here happily for several years. But they decided it would be better if my mother raised me with my grandmother and great aunts for the first few months of my life. So she left with me when I was just a hatchling, with every intention to return.
But the surge happened.
The life I should have had was lost for good. Because of all this, I never knew my father. I don't even know his name.
Is it common for Oberon hatchlings to be raised apart from their fathers?
No, but it is common for extended family to be involved in the raising of children. As you know, I come from a long line of weavers, many of whom traveled in caravans their entire lives. It was apparently quite a shock when my mother fell for a Hearthsider.
So your parents were looking for a compromise when it came to raising you?
Exactly. And I wouldn't trade my childhood on the road. My great-aunts and my grandmother made me who I am, after all.
Still, you missed out on your father. It's natural to wonder about him.
I suppose.
Isn't it a little strange your mother never told you his name?
She was separated from him so suddenly. She had no chance to say goodbye. My mother's a strong woman, but whenever I asked about him as a child, she could only manage a few words before her face would crumble. She found it too painful to discuss, and I never wanted to pry.
But now?
I can't help but wish I knew who he was.
Does your family have something to do with your attachment to the Enclave?
Being here has meant a lot in some ways, and in others, it's very different from what I expected. Meeting the Hearthsiders was a lifelong dream. But the circumstances of our encounter? Not what I'd envisioned.
Knowing now that this is your birthplace, I can see why that would be disheartening.
This was meant to be my home, after all.
This is definitely a twist. I feel like you could have told me sooner.
I am sorry for that. You need to be able to trust me.
So why hide it?
Talking about difficult and private matters is not my strong suit. And frankly, I rarely see the point in dwelling on the past.
I guess you and your mother have that in common.
Huh. You might be right.
So, we're going to find out who your father was.
You would help me?
Of course. Maybe Lane would have some ideas on where to start.
Actually, I had an idea myself. The spindle mentioned a statue of my mother. It's clear the Enclave commemorated their champions. I can't shake this feeling my father is among them.
You think there's a statue of your father?
I know it sounds strange, but the handful of times that my mother spoke of him, she described him as this great hero. Since she was one herself, is it so crazy to think she might have meant that literally?
Maybe not. I can scope out the statues in Upper Dynevron for a resemblance, if that's what you want.
Good. And thank you.
Bryn, you brought your talented smith. To what do I owe the pleasure?
I was wondering if you might have any information on Tarmakine's smithing practices within the Enclave.
I'm not well versed in Tarmakind myself, but I recall one smith who hoped to make the techniques more widespread prior to the Surge. You could try searching the Guild district in High Dynevron for a registry.
Sola is actually hoping to restore the lost art herself. Anything else I could look for that might help her?
The Smithing Guild also had an extensive library. You might find a tome on Tarmakind that could be useful while you're there.
Thank you so much.
I admire your ambition. What you're hoping to achieve is no small feat.
If anyone can do it, it's Sola.
I don't know about that.
I can believe it. Good luck in your endeavors.
Need I remind you that your access to Cassidon's hold is restricted?
Oh. I didn't mean to intrude.
You would do well to mind yourself, newcomer, or risk losing the privilege of coming to Cassidon's hold entirely.
Oria's father is unlikely to be a Casil woman. Besides, when it comes to nurturing parental figures, Ramanos's shrewd eye for politics isn't what comes to mind. Oria thinks her father could have a statue in the Enclave just like her mother. So, I'm looking for a male Oberon that fits our timeline. The Guild District. I should look for tomes on the Tarmakine smithing style, and a registry of guild members here. Aha. Tarmakine Smithing. A compendium on vented metalwork. Sola will love this. This appears to be a registry of smiths. It's dated prior to the retreat to Cassidon's Hold. There's one Tarmakite smith, Xavier Nibreop. Looks like he had a workshop in the Iron Walk.
Getting close now. Watch for the flames. You'll need to freeze the hives. They're spongy and resistant to damage unless you can make them brittle.
That's more like it. Work with the scry.
As impressive as Auria's lineage may be, we're 200 years off the timeline for Arden to be her father. Not to mention the lack of feathers. Oria, this must be the statue of your mother that the spindle mentioned.
One of the greatest enchantresses of her time.
That's a lot to live up to.
Magnetic strand. Wonderful.
This statue does depict an Oberon, but it's impossible to tell who it is.
Maybe there's another statue that isn't damaged.
I'll keep looking around the city. Not much of this building left, but looks like it's my lucky day. This tome's titled Disordered Thinking and Mental Anguish. Looks thick. An insert says, a herbalist in the market found success treating a variety of patients suffering from these types of afflictions. Better search the market next.
The tricky part's the balance. Not too heavy, not too light. I'm proud of this one.
I don't want to talk about the scales anymore, but the Hearthsiders look more traumatized than a beast of burden after a hurricane.
What? Why would you say that?
I would think someone who grew up in the wake of war would recognize the signs. Disorganized and unable to triage their own problems. They're overwhelmed. Suspicious of us despite our clear good intentions, suggesting paranoia. And while their leader is in deep denial of the very real crisis the Enclave is in, the others accept it. They've been stewing in turmoil for so long, it's become their new normal. And it's probably more comfortable for them than the prospect of change.
You're right. They do remind me of some veterans back in Carnhaven.
Saw it 1,000 times over while working in Udea. Or you may not want to hear it, but these people are completely lost in their crisis.
What makes you say that?
Aurea has a case of hero worship when it comes to the Enclave. She can be blinded by it sometimes.
Huh.
It's not to say great things didn't happen here. But at the end of the day, the Hearthsiders aren't gods. They're fallible. Just like us.
Kaz, you know you can talk to us about what's going on, right?
Nothing's going on. I'm fine, I promise.
You don't seem fine, though.
It's just, no one seems to understand how important the Ashpeak Drake skills are, and bad things are going to happen if we don't... You know what? I just can't talk about this right now. I'm sorry.
That should be the last of them. Appreciate the chance to test run your scry.
Isn't that the same Oberon statue you found in the atrium?
Maybe if I burn the vines, I'll be able to see who it is. Known for his acts of bravery following the surge. Could this be your father, Aurea?
Perhaps. Arakim might know how to confirm. Remember, Gwyn, the spindle needs you to harvest a resonance from one of these massive arcs.
will be enough to dispel her nerves.
Only one way to find out. Things still good with our Spitfire problem?
All handled. You did great out there. But now we have another problem. Madame Silverbeak. Seriously? I said it while you were out there, and the look she gave me.
Oh no, you didn't!
Oh, yeah, I did. And I shall never again. But well played, Miss Bryn. But it was quite the experience. Your scry is not at all what I'm used to. It's better, more vibrant. Anyway, sincerely, thank you for your help. If I need more, I'll know to just ask this time. You're seriously telling me Carnhaven is now completely independent from Sansa? Bryn's parents fought in the war. Wow. I guess it makes sense that our history books are a little out of date, but I never imagined so much could change since the Surge.
From what we've gathered, quite a lot has happened inside the Vale as well, has it not?
Arik, about those statues in Upper Dynevron.
You mean the Friends of the Eye?
No, I was talking about the champions.
Ha! Some of them, maybe. But you could be the most heroic weaver in the world, and unless you're cozying up to leadership, there's no statue being built in your honor.
Huh.
Anyway, what do you want with them?
Well, we're wondering if there could be a familial connection between someone in our band and one of the figures represented on the statues.
You could dive through the archives we've preserved in Casten's Hold on all our heroes. That's the slow, boring way.
Don't let Lane hear you say that.
Or you can compare mantles to see if their patterns are a match.
You can tell two people are related through their mantles.
The spindle could tell you more about the science behind it. But from what I understand, there are similarities across bloodlines in how a weaver's cloth pulls magic from the air. A pattern tracer allows us to analyze those similarities between two weavers' patterns. I'll give you a design for it. Once it's built, take it to the Axle and she'll trace the mantles for you. We've preserved mantles belonging to all our heroes in Casten's Hold.
Thanks, Arik. Aurea will be pleased.
Aurea? For what it's worth, she's twice the weaver any of those statues might claim to be.
Now that we have a pattern tracer, it's time to head to Cassidy's Hold.
Arakim mentioned you wanted to compare a mantle with Matteo Agretius?
We'd like to see if he might be my father.
All right. I've set his mantle aside for you. I'll need yours too. and the pattern tracer to perform the test.
You all right?
A little nervous.
I have to say, your mantle is spectacular. Mateo's easily pales in comparison.
Oh, thank you. And, is he my father?
No, I'm sorry. It's not a match.
Oh, I see.
Hey, we'll keep looking. Maybe now it's time to talk to Lane?
You're right. We should consult with them. I just thought... Silly. I'll see you back at camp.
What's your history here? Have you been the Axel for a long time?
Why do you care?
To pass the time? Get to know you better? Well, we could discover that we're kindred spirits. Become bosom friends.
As good a reason as any. I was elected to this seat 8 years ago. I've done a good enough job to be re-elected.
What made you decide to run for leadership?
My predecessor was incompetent and took bribes. The guild members tolerated it for a time, but eventually enough was enough. The Eye never seemed to have a problem with it, though.
Do you think he's taking bribes?
You really aren't afraid of asking dangerous questions, are you? I personally haven't seen any evidence of his corruption. He believes in his own judgment too much to accept a bribe. It's easier to bribe the lower-level guild members anyway.
Isn't that a bad thing?
The wheels of society must needs be greased. If they do any more than skim a little off the top, I'll come down hard on them. And that's why I've managed to keep my job. Well, part of why, anyway.
How's your working relationship with the Eye? Is he your superior?
He would like to think so. His seat casts the final vote when the council cannot make a decision.
But his seat has more power than that.
Khan Stanield wields power beyond the traditional bounds of the Eye's seat, yes. But he is our savior, so surely he must know better than any of us. Which is to say, he is technically the highest-ranked official in the Enclave. But he hasn't faced an election in decades. In contrast, I have, let's call it, popular support.
So, what does an Axel do all day?
It varies. Some of my predecessors have been very hands-on, as befits a representative of the physical trades. That's not my strong suit, though. So I end up with my beak buried in paperwork. Maintaining supply lines, as it turns out, is considered extremely helpful.
That all makes sense? Thanks for taking a moment to talk. All this wreckage scattered throughout the room. Why haven't you guys cleaned it up?
Khan Stanild ordered us not to.
And that's because he wants to keep it messy?
Correct. Speaking frankly, my impression is that he wanted any visitors to feel as if we were still in a major state of crisis. Though visitors are few and far between. Upper government officials only, all of whom are working from offices with roofs. We are the lucky few over here, it seems. What a privilege it is to work in a building that is open to the weather. I understand the motivation of wanting to wait until we'd found everyone a place to live. But we achieved that 20 years ago. Thousands of survivors rehomed. And yet, I still have to step over puddles to get to my desk.
American, having a discussion to clarify the meaning of no contact.
Of course, Constable.
A resonance, freshly pulled from an arc's pattern, as requested.
By the flames! You can't be serious! This is incredible!
You know, great archons weren't built with patterns. They formed. This will propel my research faster than...
What is this about?
Nothing.
Is that so? Then why is this rogue point harvesting archons for you?
Khan Stanild. Isla is the spindle. Patterns are directly tied to her domain when you hear what she hopes to achieve with the arcs.
I'm well aware of my daughter's ambitions, newcomer, and I have given express orders that she is not to pursue them.
Daughter?
The reason you didn't want me studying active arcs was because it was too dangerous to harvest one. But Bryn offered to do it for me. None of our people were put at risk.
The reason I didn't want you researching arcs is because I ordered you not to. Not as your father, but as the leader of the Enclave. This insolence and disrespect will not be tolerated. You will drop this obsession at once, Isla. For good.
Hey, are you?
I can't be seen speaking to you about this subject anymore. I'm sorry.
But...
I need to get back to work. Goodbye. Before Asylum, all the loom gates were reset so that the Surgeborn couldn't use them to continue spreading. How did you reconnect to the city?
We tracked down a key swatch to Dynevron. Found it in the mayor's home in Poldervale.
Your band is quite resourceful.
Dam loves discussing magical theory. He would be thrilled to speak with the Enclave's leading enchantress.
That is tempting. But you know my father wouldn't... No offense, but I should really get back to work. I really can't discuss the Arcs with you. Not here.
Don't worry. I understand. I just didn't realize that Khan Stanild is your father.
Admittedly, I wasn't the most forthcoming about that.
Why hide the fact that the Eye is your father?
No. Everyone knows. That's kind of the problem. My father has been in power a long time. And obviously, being his daughter has come with its privileges. But I can't ignore the whispers that I haven't truly earned my role. And at times, I worry they're right.
So, when you had the opportunity to work with us on your own terms...
I took it. I'm sorry. This probably looks bad.
Are you all right after that argument?
He's been on edge lately.
Since our band arrived.
That didn't help, but our relationship hasn't been great since I became the Spindle. At first, he was thrilled when I was elected, but... You're just not seeing him at his best right now. Please, don't judge him too harshly.
I'll try not to. But you didn't answer my question. Are you all right?
I'm fine.
I know we're not supposed to talk about the A word, but they're your passion. Why is your father so against you pursuing your research?
He says they're dangerous.
Right. But so are a lot of things in the Enclave.
I never knew my mother. I was born just before the retreat to Cassidon's Hold. When my research touched a nerve, he finally told me that she had died in an arc attack on the upper city. He wants me to steer clear of them, but he just doesn't see their potential. Yet.
You said he's not at his best. What does a good day look like for him?
I know it's hard to see it, but he is an amazing father. My childhood was wonderful. Growing up in Cassidon's Hold wasn't easy, but he made it fun. No matter how intense his job became, he made time for me. Playing dress-up, reading to me before bed, or, as I got older, teaching me the basics of weaving and enchanting. He was my best friend and confidant. I could always tell him anything.
Do you still tell him everything, even now?
A lot has changed. But I have to believe he's still the same father I grew up with.
Just know that when it comes to our Weaver Band, we believe that our contributions are what defines us.
That's comforting. For what it's worth, I did enjoy working with you. But that's in the past. I should get back to my duties.